New South Wales Deputy Premier and Leader of the National Party, John Barilaro, joins me now from Sydney. Thank you for your time, Minister. Before we get on to some other issues related to Saturday night, I just wanted to ask you, for such a long time, New South Wales ruled out border closures, but today you've closed that border. It'll close imminently anyway. What's the difference that you see between the border closure with Victoria as opposed to the long arguments you've had with the Queensland Premier about opening borders to the north?
Well, thank you, Peter, and thank you for having me. Look, the clear difference is that we accepted the border being closed with Queensland at the time of the height of the crisis and the pandemic, when there were infections happening and community transmission happening in Queensland, and we chose not to close the border, but at that time Queensland chose to. And but you know, I don't know, I think it's 20 or 30 days that Queensland hasn't had a case. So we've been arguing that they should lift and open the borders based on that. And that's the difference, where today what we're seeing in Victoria, with 120 plus extra cases, all of them community transmission. As I've understood, there were a couple close to the border. And of course, this goes on days and days and days of 70, 80, 90, 108 on Saturday. So the truth is that this is getting out of control. We cannot risk those communities on the border. But at the same time, if it was a spike of 40 to 50, manageable. But I think we're now at that point where we had to make a tough decision today, unique circumstances, and that's why the Premier announced the border closure.
Yeah, I don't think anyone in New South Wales would be against your decision. I think regional Victorians feel pretty let down by Melburnians, and that's one of the issues, you know, for the National Party brand, the Liberal Party brand, right around the country, this disaggregation between urban Australia and regional Australia. And I looked at the official tally as I came on air tonight on the AEC website. The Nats haven't done well out of the weekend in primary vote terms. You've got 6,000 votes, but you're up against the Shooters on 5,000 votes. You've had a negative swing against you, the National Party, in primary vote terms in the Eden-Monaro by-election. And the Shooters, they weren't in the race last time, so they'll have recorded a full swing, a 5.3% swing to them. What's the issue here, do you think, with the National Party brand?
Well, Peter, you know, I've been quite vocal about the issues from a regional perspective, from the Murray-Darling Basin Plan, the investment in the regions for a number of years. And, you know, federally, they have not had to face the Shooters as an alternate to the National Party like we have had to face at a state election, at by-elections, and we felt the brunt of the Shooters, and we opened the door for them with some stupid policy in the last term around local government mergers and the banning of greyhounds, and they've been on a rise ever since. And what we saw on the weekend was they pulled a 5+% margin, which they took votes from the Labor Party, they took votes from us, they took votes from across the community. But the truth is this, they're a fraud. They sell themselves as a conservative party called the Shooters, Fishers and Farmers. Well, if you're a shooter in New South Wales, say, or Eden-Monaro, know that they preference the Labor Party that wants to turn state forests into national parks. If you're a fisher, well, look at Penny Sharp in New South Wales, what she wants to do with our coastline. She wants more marines, sanctions and sanctuaries to stop fishing. And if you're a farmer, they want to reverse the biodiversity legislation and bring native veg back. And that is what Tony Burke has said federally from a formal
but
nationwide.
You know and I know, I grew up in a National Party seat. I grew up in the strongest National Party seat in Australia, the seat of Mallee. It's not a great seat for you guys anymore. It's still strong, but it's nowhere what it used to be. You know and I know the National Party's struggling around the country. If it's got a good, strong, locally identified member, it survives. But when that member departs and there's a three-cornered contest, you're losing seats, you're losing ground, and you're pushed more and more to the sort of the regional centre fringe, the coastal fringe, particularly in New South Wales. You're losing what I'd call the old heartland seats. What's the problem that the National Party has got to fix? How do you go about it?
Well, the fix is simple, is that we've got to stand up for our communities, and for far too long, we haven't done that. You know, it's time that in the coalition that we fight back. We can't just accept that the Liberal Party is the majority party and they get to run the policy agenda, and maybe we've allowed that to happen far too long. But, Peter, you know me, I've been very, very vocal over the past few years, and made a lot of enemies, state and federally, with the Liberal Party, and some of my own, like calling for a Royal Commission in the Murray-Darling Basin Plan, which I think should be ripped up because it robs water from our irrigation communities. That's why Helen Dalton won the seat of Murray. That is why the Shooters won the seat of Barwon at the last state election, because of water based on the Murray-Darling Basin Plan. Yet there's a deafness in Canberra about dealing with it. Well, I hope that the weekend's result clearly sends a message that if we don't change our narrative around the issues that affect us in the bush, well, guess what? You're right. The National Party will be in trouble. It'll be just based on individuals that have got good popularity, been there for a while, but we lose at every transition period, every time someone retires. So the clear message here is the National Party is a standalone party that is in coalition with the Liberal Party, but we're not run by the Liberal Party, and we now need to stand up and fight on the issues publicly, where we've probably done a bit behind closed doors, and show that we fight for the bush. And that's what has to change.
A lot of Liberals are saying you are the reason why the Liberal Party didn't hold that seat or didn't win the seat from Labor on Saturday night. They're out in the media today saying it's pretty clear now that the numbers that Barilaro has cost us the seat. That should always be remembered next time he runs. What's your thought on that?
Oh, well, you know, this is the blame game by Liberals that are gutless, that can't put their name to it. At least I've got the guts to put my name to everything that I say publicly in the media. These are gutless, faceless people that want to make accusations. Let's make this clear. On Friday, I was on radio on Ray Hadley saying, vote 1 Nats, vote 2 Fiona Kotvojs. Our how to vote card was vote 1 Nats, vote 1 Liberals. On the ground, we were working with our Liberal colleagues. Even Jim Molan said there was no sign of that on the ground. So this is easy to blame people when you don't get a result. What they have to look at, and stop blaming the Nats, if someone's chosen to vote Nats 1 and have not chosen to preference the Liberals 2, in real terms it means they were never going to vote Liberal anyway. And to say that the Nats running has caused them the loss is a disgrace. We are a grassroots membership party that, you know, our members turn up to functions, they fundraise, they turn up and fight. And under the three-corner contest, under the coalition agreement, we are allowed to run in three-corner contests to wave our flag. You just said, Peter, you just said, but that, you know, what do the Nats need to do? What do the Nats need to do so that we don't lose to people like the Shooters? Well, we've got to be more races. We've got to fight in more campaigns and wave our flag and our policy position.
So will you run in the federal election? It won't be a case that you can't run, because it will now likely be a three-cornered contest. Will you run for the National Party?
Peter, that's 2022. I'm the Deputy Premier and I'm not making any decision. I said I haven't ruled it out and I won't rule it out. But you know what I will look at is why people are turning away from the National Party and what will have to change going into any election, state or federal, going forward. I'm the leader of the New South Wales Nationals. My job is to fix that from a state perspective, Michael McCormack at a federal perspective, and make sure our brand is strong. And you know what it's going to do? It's going to upset some Liberals. So today's headlines,
all right, well, just before we go,
yeah.
I have said that this result on Saturday night, whilst a narrow Labor win, is still a reflection on the Labor leader Anthony Albanese. Is this loss and the National Party's what I would consider a poor showing with a negative swing, is this a reflection on Michael McCormack?
Well, look, and I've had my say on Michael McCormack, and you know, at the same time, you know, my team, we were on the ground fighting for the votes. We had a chance to do something different. We didn't do that. You know, I'm not going to make any more commentary on Michael McCormack. He's the leader of the Federal National Party, and I'll look after New South Wales, and we'll keep fighting like we've always done.
John Barilaro, thank you very much for your time tonight.